Anin Buju band members, today is Arthur Gahbow Day. It is the day that we honor Art, who served as our tribal chair from 1972 until his passing in 1991. We were talking last week, and we think about many of us that remember Art, worked with Art, respected Art. But there are younger people today that didn't know Art. They weren't alive, or maybe they were babies at the time that he was tribal chair. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with Art as chief executive. I was recruited in 1989 to serve as the Commissioner of Administration. And one of the things that Art used to do is every year he would look at the scholarship list and who were the band members that received their degrees. In 1989, Art was looking at the list and my name was on the list, and I had received my bachelor's of business administration. The timing was right because the 4-year terms had expired for all the commissioners, and Art had posted all of the jobs and was looking to interview band members or other qualified people to fill these positions as commissioners. So he had Tad Johnson at the time, who was Solicitor General, come and find out who I was, where I was at, and ask if I'd be willing to apply for the Commissioner of Administration. I did so and went through a couple of interviews, and I was actually offered the position. So that's how I got to work with Art as chief executive. When we talk about the band's achievements, we always refer to Art's leadership. And so there are a couple of items that I want to talk about that he implemented for the band as he was chief executive at those times. Art and many of the elders decided that we should have a division of powers, form of government, instead of the RBC. So that was under Art's leadership. He was one of the 10 leaders in the United States that formed a movement called self-governance. Art asserted our 1837 treaty rights. When the students walked out of Onemia schools because of all the turmoil that was happening to band member kids, Art started Inaajimowin schools. Our casinos, the first casino here in Mille Lacs, was started under Art's leadership. And I remember the time that we were there and there was a ceremony going on, and one of the things that Art said is, once we open these doors, we will never close. And it was up until just COVID that the casinos were open 24 hours a day. COVID changed that, where we had to shut down our casinos for a couple of months. On a couple occasions when we had the opportunity to travel to Washington, D.C., and that was only maybe once a year or once every couple of years, we used to go to the Senate buildings, and it's the Senate Hart building, for lunch. And Art really liked to have the bean soup there for lunch, and he would tell me the story and how the bean soup actually is a mainstay there, and they serve it every day. And I believe he's talked about that there was actual legislation. Art was the son of Baptiste Sam and Dick Gahbow. Art had 17 children and many more that he adopted. Art had 12 brothers and sisters. And they tell us that he lived with his grandfather as a child. Art's grandfather used to hold many meetings at his home with the elders, and it said that Art really enjoyed listening to the elders, and that was part of his leadership. When he had issues that he needed to present, he always made sure he talked to the elders, and that's where he would depend on their wisdom and help him create his decision on whatever issue that may be. Art's leadership was based on the tribal perspective of leadership principles. Part of that leadership style is that you would think about everybody. How does it impact the reservation, the band members? And when I make these decisions, what kind of ramifications would occur from that? He was president of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe. He led a movement during the 80s for the Mille Lacs band to separate from the Minnesota Chippewa tribe. It didn't happen. And even today, during our constitutional convention, there has been a lot of talk from our delegates is what is the benefit of the Mille Lacs band being a part of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe. So those ideas and discussions are still happening today. And that's something that many of us continue to think about. And what are the ramifications if we do make a change? Art was also a national leader. He was one of the co-founders of the Alliance of American Indian Leaders. Other founders were Roger Jourdain from Red Lake, Wendell Chino from Mescalera, Apache, and Joe Delacruz from Quinault. One of the biggest lessons that I learned from Art, if you're going to complain about an issue, do you also have a solution? We are solution-oriented people, and that's one of the things that he wanted to focus on. And if you were a band member that came to see Art and you had a solution about an issue, he would look at that and incorporate it to see if it worked. Through our many discussions, Art and I discussed the cultural responsibilities of the Mille Lacs band members. What Art wanted to see throughout government is that we conducted our day-to-day business in the Ojibwe language. He wanted band assembly meetings to be conducted fully in Ojibwe. And if you remember, every one of his State of the Band addresses was in Ojibwe, and he thought that was a very important responsibility for us as Anishinaabe. And when we talk about the division of powers, it's about we as ceremonial people and how can we bring those values into the day-to-day governmental structure and our spiritual beliefs. And that was very important to him. So as we think about Art on the Arthur Gahbow Day today, one of the questions I would like to ask for all of us, how do we bring the cultural and spiritual beliefs that we are as Anishinaabe into our day-to-day working space? And I believe we can all do our part, and we can honor our chief executive, Arthur Gahbow, on his day, to know that we are carrying out his legacy and the things that he wanted to see as a part of how we govern here at the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. I will put up a small statement on Facebook to go into a little more detail about Art. So if you have a chance, please take the opportunity to read that. Miigwech.